AMD is at Computex and they're showing off the new Ryzen 7 and 9 CPUs as well as the RX 5700 GPU. So we're going to see some quite good performance coming up. So let's start off with the Ryzen 7 and 9. We have some performance and specs as well as pricing and release date. We'll talk about all of that and we'll see some pretty good numbers going on. But let's jump into some specs really quick. So basically what we're going to have is the Ryzen 7. We're going to start off with the Ryzen 7 3700X. Is 8 core as well as the 3800 is also 8 core, but we're going to be at 4.4 gigahertz boosting and then 4.5 on the bigger brother. And then these are all going to have total cache megabytes 36, and then they're all going to have 40 PCIe lanes, which is quite a bit. We'll go into some testing and stuff for that in a little bit. So pricing is, we'll jump into that in a little bit, but then we have the big king, basically the Ryzen 9 3900X. This is going to have 12 cores, 24 threads, and it's going to be clocked at 4.6 gigahertz boost, so pretty high up there. And then 78 megabytes of total cache, which is pretty monstrous, but that's to be expected, I guess. So those are the basic specs. We also get some Ryzen 5 specs for comparison, and these are all coming pretty soon. So we get some performance numbers. They actually compare this to a lot of the Intel products. So we're going to look at the 3700X versus the 9700K. So a lot of hundreds and Ks, but this is a $400 CPU, and we're looking at a 1% performance increase in single threaded, and then we're going to see in multi-threaded performance a 28% increase. So pretty high there, and that's pretty good overall. And we get to see the next one, the 3800X versus the 9900K, which is basically the king of Intel right now. This is going to be a 3% perform, about a 1% over the other one, and then about 2%. So it's basically matching at the 9900K performance. This is the 3800X we're talking about. And then we get to see the 12 core, the monster, the 3900X is going to be in single threaded performance about 4%. So that's good. And then we're going to see a little bit better in multi-threaded. So what's that, like 10-ish% compared to these two. And looking at the 9920X, the Intel part is at $1,200. And then we're going to see a pricing of the 3900K to be less than half of that. So that leads us into, I guess, pricing. So we get to see actually performance. Let's go talk about that just a quick more second. So they compared a PUBG, I believe, versus the 9900K in the live stream. It was about an hour long, and they did some other comparisons. But basically, it was matching in gaming performance as well. So they did they were showing PUBG, which is the battle royale game. So that was pretty good for the gaming front. We'll have to see other games and everything to see if it can keep up. But that's pretty good, shaving off more than $100 or so. Again, we'll go into pricing. And then Cinebench, they also showed a Cinebench. That was for some of the rendering tests and everything they did for the poor performance. And the IPC instructions per clock for the new Ryzen CPUs are 15% higher than previous. So they are now pretty much matching. Everyone's speculating they're matching or beating Intel now for per clock performance. So that is pretty good on the performance front for AMD. So that now leads us into pricing, which is where it gets pretty good. So the 3700X, which is competing against the 9700K, is $329. And then the 3800X, which is competing against the 9900K, the 485, I haven't seen it below 500. So $100 shaved off or more, $400. So that is pretty good price for an 8-core, 40 PCIe lanes, 36 megabytes of cache. So pretty monstrous, 105 watt TDP, pretty good there. And then this one is the 12 core, the 3900K, $500. So they were comparing that against the $1,200 9920X from Intel. So the pricing on that is just go out and get the 12 core. It's a pretty good deal. And so that's basically the pricing. Then you can check out the Ryzen 5, the two Ryzen 5s, $250 and $200. Those are your really good budget value CPU, 6-core CPUs for $250. That's pretty good any way you look at that. So these are all coming July 7th. So you got about a month and a half to wait to start picking up some of the best AMD CPUs you've ever seen. So pretty good there. So specs are good. Performance shown on stage is obviously good. So we'll have to see independent third-party YouTube reviewers to see actual performance in the actual games and a bunch more synthetic tests, so for rendering and multitasking. But this is pretty good for AMD, pretty much kicking Intel with pricing and core count, so pretty good there. And then we get to see they also showed a 16 core CPU, but they didn't. I think they said Q3 will get more information on that. And then I believe they also talked about Threadripper, so I think they're going up to 64 cores. We'll have to see what comes out from that, but they didn't really show any too much information on the 16-core Ryzen or the Threadripper or anything like that. But more CPUs coming from AMD, which is going to be pretty good. So what else do we have? The RX 5700. That is the new GPU from Radeon AMD. So we didn't get too much details on this. They did compare this against the RTX 2070, and they showed it 10% better in performance. So this was in Stranger Brigade, which is, people see this as an AMD title. So we're looking RTX 2070 performance from the RX 5700. So we didn't get any pricing or any information on that, but that's coming July 10th. So we'll find out what's going on with that on June 10th. So in just about a week or two. So pretty good. We'll have to see how that comes out. I think they did a benchmark for like bandwidth, and they beat the RTX 2080 by like 69%, but that wasn't gaming performance. That was just like a bandwidth PCI 4.0 lane stress test in a interesting little thing. I forgot where they showed that in this, but it is in the live stream if you want to dig through that or watch it all. Pretty good watch. So what else do we have? Motherboards. So the X570 AMD motherboards are coming, and this is kind of big news because it's going to have PCI 4.0, so you're going to get more bandwidth for transferring speeds. We'll talk about some SSDs and everything, and then better for GPUs technically and everything like that. But the CPUs, the new CPUs are backwards compatible with X470 motherboards as well as B450 motherboards. So that is good. This is the 3rd generation Ryzen processors again, and then select beta BIOS updates needed if you're going to do anything beyond that, lower or previous, but you're looking at these 3 motherboards. So X470 is obviously good. X570, you're going to get the more future-proofing, more PCI Express speed and everything. So if you're looking at some fast SSDs, which we might as well talk about, here's another comparison, a check sheet. Here it is again, X570, 470, and B450. But speeds we're talking about. So SSD speeds. So we're looking at previous Gen 3 was at 3.3 gigabytes per second. We're jumping up to 5.0 gigabytes per second. And we actually already have an SSD, an M.2 SSD that is from Corsair, which was just announced at 4,950 megabytes per second. So pretty fast SSDs if you want super fast transfer speeds. We'll have to see if this loads games any faster. That would be pretty good for gaming. But pretty insane speeds. We don't availability warranty. We're looking July. It looks like 2019. We'll find out when this is coming, and we don't have pricing, but probably be a little bit more expensive than current M.2 SSDs because faster speeds. It looks like it's going to be pretty hot. Maybe it's got some fins there, so that will be good for cooling it. Helping cool it a little bit. So that is pretty good motherboards for AMD. I think there's 50. I think there's 30 motherboards from like one supplier. So there's going to be lots of motherboards to choose from. It's going to be pretty intense for your CPU compatibility. So pretty good there. And what else do we have? That's a lot of AMD news. Well, we got Intel news. Intel announced the i9 9900KS. So this is like the third or fourth or fifth 9900 we've seen. And this is going to be a 9900 that clocks at 5 gigahertz across all cores. The 9900K, I think, was 1 or 2 cores at the 5 gigahertz, and then the other ones would be like 4.8 or something or lower, I'm pretty sure. So the KS version, which we're going to find out more details today or tomorrow. We don't actually have pricing or anything, but this will be 5 gigahertz across all cores. So we'll have to see what Intel does with this. They have the 9900KS, the K, the KF, so 3 different ones for the 9900, and pretty interesting from Intel trying to fight back with AMD, I guess, today. So pretty good AMD news. Again, we get the 3800 and 3700X 8-core CPUs, the 3900 12-core CPU, between $300 and $500. So super competitive on pricing, way below not even competitive, they're just undercutting. So, and then these are coming July 7th. So if you're looking for CPU, just wait until July 7th, and AMD is pretty much a no-brainer, which is the consensus across the board from a lot of YouTubers and news and everything. And then the new motherboards are out if you want the faster PCIe speeds. So you're gonna get up to 5 gigabytes per second, or you can use your older X570 motherboard B450. So you'll have to look into some of that. So pretty good stuff from AMD. And we got Lulu saying hundreds of thumbs up in Ks. Oh yeah, the numbers. They're kind of comparing their 500,000. They're kind of doing competing versus NVIDIA naming scheme a little bit, but not too copyright friendly. But we'll see how that goes. And we got Mark saying noise. So yeah, get ready for some AMD hype because it's been going on since last night. So with that, we will have another episode tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific with some more tech and game news. A little bit longer episode today. We got a lot of AMD stuff to talk about, which is always good. So with that, we will be signing out. Pew, 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 pew.